Hi guys, I got a request from a couple of you wanting me to do a video, another video on Prebisch Singer. So I'm going to go to a little bit more detail. I'm going to try to add a little bit more value so you can understand it, because it is one of the major theories in terms of trying to explain why developing countries are in poverty. And Prebisch Singer is essentially saying that developing nations are primary product dependent. So you need to then think about, what does primary product mean? Primary product, if any of you have done business, you would have probably heard of three main sectors in business. You have the primary sector, you have the secondary sector, and you have this tertiary sector. What we need to think about is the primary sector is the first part of it. So it's the extraction of raw materials, natural raw materials. So a lot of developing countries are heavily reliant on that. And that has its own problems. In terms of, think about oil. Oil is always very volatile. A lot of developed nations have tried to look for alternative energy sources. Been a lot of politics in regards to oil prices, and therefore it becomes extremely volatile. Think about production of like wheat, cocoa. Think about, they're so reliant on the weather conditions. There's so many things, so many factors that add to the volatility of these products. So Prebisch Singer is saying that if countries continue to rely on primary products, it does create a problem. But his focus was really mainly on the elasticity. And let's explore that part of it, because that is actually quite an interesting part of it. So let's go here. So let's start. I think we start this off with a couple of diagrams. We've never done these diagrams before, but this is all about trying to add value, trying to enable you guys to really understand this a lot more. Okay. So the first diagram we're going to do is we're going to try to show the impact of elasticity in regards to um, primary products. Okay, so we're going to talk about income elasticity, and what that literally means, because you've done that in micro, is as your income goes up, how much more primary products are you going to buy? And the argument is that um, as income has gone up all over the world, in developed countries and developing countries, they've experienced much higher incomes. So the question is, how elastic is the demand for primary products? And what has been found, that the demand for primary products is relatively income inelastic. And what that means, we'll draw it here. This is income. Okay, so let's write this income and write quantity. And income is normally represented by Y. And what it's actually saying in reality, what actually happens is that you have something like this. This would be your demand. Okay, this would be relatively your demand. So what we're saying here, guys, and this is really, really important, as your income goes up, okay, just look at the level, the quantity you're demanding. So as income goes up, let's say income has gone up from Y to Y1, but as you can see, the income rate, I mean, the quantity demanded really hasn't really increased that much, has it? It really hasn't increased that much. So even if income goes up to Y2, just have a look at the quantity, the amount of quantity purchased. There's not much difference. There's very little difference in terms of the quantity. So it's relatively income inelastic. And what that essentially means, guys, if you're not likely, if you're doing okay, you've got a good job and everything else, and then you receive a lot more money, then you end up getting a better job. Are you likely to buy more petrol? Not really. You're going to buy the same level of petrol you've been buying before. You're not really going to increase it that much. Are you likely to decide you're going to have a lot more potatoes? Not really. So that is the problem. Yes, you might increase your demand for these products a little bit, but in essence, it's going to be relatively inelastic. So as your income goes higher, you're not really going to increase your demand for petrol or for cocoa Oh, suddenly now you're earning another 20,000. You're gonna now drink 3 cups of hot chocolate. You're not likely to do that, and that is the problem. So if developing countries rely on this, then they're going to have a problem in regards to their terms of trade because they are very reliant on imports. As these countries become more and more developed, developing countries strive to become more developed, they're going to want to purchase a lot more imports in terms of machinery, infrastructure, and all that. Okay? And as they become more and more attempting to become more and more developed, and also as they get more, have more income, it's a status symbol to be able to buy a bigger TV, better cars. So they're going to demand more manufactured products. Okay, and if their exports is relatively still stable, yeah, it's going to create problems in regards to their terms of trade, and that's why Prebisch Singer is of the opinion that you're going to face a deteriorating terms of trade. Okay, now in terms of let's have a look at what happens in regards to manufactured products. Okay, so we've seen the income elasticity in regards to primary products. What happens in regards to manufactured products? Now, what you're going to find, guys, is that let's draw the income here, and the quantity here. Now, it's going to be elastic. Okay, so as your income goes up here, guys. Okay, so let's say income goes from Y. Just have a look at the quantity purchased here. Income goes up to Y2, Y1, let's say Y1. Quantity becomes more and more. Income goes up to Y3. The quantity is much more. So what this basically is showing that demand for manufactured products is elastic. In other words, as income goes up, all over the world, people are going to demand more and more manufactured products. They're going to want better cars, they're going to want better computers, better mobile phones, better everything. And as income goes up, they're going to want to purchase much better goods. So therefore, the total revenue is going to, in for manufactured products, is going to substantially increase. Okay, total revenue is going to massively increase. Okay, whereas if you consider the total revenue in regards to the demand for primary products, okay, demand for primary products is relatively constant. So the total revenue is relatively constant, relatively stays the same, relatively stays the same, and that's the problem. So if you're if you're purchasing much more in imports than you're getting in your exports, you're going to face what you call deteriorating terms of trade. Okay, let's write that down. And you're going to get deteriorating terms of trade because as income goes up all around the world, you're going to purchase more manufactured products. As you've seen in this diagram here, it's going to relate. This diagram here, diagram number 2, shows you clearly that it's elastic. As your income goes up, you are going to purchase much more products. Okay, so a lot more money is going out. Imports, money is leaving the country from the circle, is leaving the circular flow of income. Whereas when you think about the demand for primary products, demand for natural resources, it's going to be relatively stable. Okay, as you can see here, it's not the quantity is not really increasing, and as a result, you're going to face what you call deteriorating terms of trade. Okay, now what Prebisch Singer is saying is that listen, there's going to be stages where it might not always be the case in the short run. In the short run, you might actually experience total revenue going up quite considerably, and what you need to do is that you need to take this money and you need to use it and diversify, diversify. Don't spend more money on machinery, but use that money to try to diversify your economy. Okay, diversification, guys. And that's what Prebisch Singer is saying. He said, if you continue in this route, you're going to face massive deterioration in your terms of trade in the long run. and it's going to lead to a lot of poverty. Okay, and you're never ever going to bridge the gap. But what you need to do in the short run, that may not be the case. Okay, you might actually experience an improvement in your terms of trade. You need to get that money and diversify into manufactured products. Try and move away from this dependency on primary products. So that was a theory. Essentially, so let's just recap what Prebisch Singer is saying. Looking at the diagrams, the first diagram shows the income is relatively inelastic for primary products, for natural products, for oil, for cocoa, for wheat. It's relatively inelastic. As your income goes up, you're not really going to purchase much more products. For example, look at Y2 here. Your income's gone up to Y2. You're not really going to demand more petrol. You've already got petrol. You already filled your tank. You don't need any more petrol just because you've been given an extra income of £20,000. Realize the problem. However, when you look at the other diagram, the more money you have, you're going to want to buy a much better car. You're going to want to buy a bigger TV. You're going to want to buy much bigger, more powerful machinery. And therefore, your quantity demand for manufactured products is going to go up. Therefore, total revenue is going to go up. So what Prebisch Singer is saying is that if you continue like this, you're going to always face deterioration in your terms of trade, because over time you're going to be paying for much more manufactured products than you are getting for your own primary products. Okay, so your imports, the money going out in terms of your imports, is going to be a lot more than what you're bringing in regards to your exports. So if you continue like this, you're going to have a very bleak future. So what he was essentially saying is that you need to diversify your economy, try and move more towards manufactured products, because as we can see, it's inelastic. Income is sorry, not inelastic. Income is elastic in regards to demand for manufactured products is elastic, perfectly elastic. So in other words, well, not perfectly elastic, but highly elastic, because as your income goes up, guys, as income goes up, you're going to purchase much more. Okay, so as income goes up, you're going to buy more, and that's essentially what Prebisch Singer is trying to talk about. So when you're trying to explain Prebisch Singer, make sure you apply to the question. But essentially, that's what it's really about. He doesn't really talk much about the volatility of primary products, which is a problem as well. But that's an additional problem. What he tries to focus on is the elastic, elastic and inelastic nature of these products. So he tries to focus on and tries to put your attention on the fact that one product, the demand is inelastic, where the demand for manufactured products is elastic. That's where the focus is on. But as an additional point, as part of the reasons to try to bring developing nations away from primary product dependency, is the volatility as well. That's an additional point. So I hope this is kind of like you understand this a little bit better. Okay. Um, okay. So let me have some feedback. If you want more of these videos, make a comment under the video. Let me know. This is the kind of things